afternoon, Southwest Florida. You are tuning in to Divine Destiny Radio Show, and I'm your host, Lady J.
It's your co-host, Bella.
And this is Angie B. What's up, bro?
Today we're talking about AIDS. It's not AIDS month. It's not the AIDS walk time. It's none of that. But, God just really put it in my heart because, sometimes we set things aside to acknowledge it once a year, and the enemy is tearing down our people every day. Every second, somebody's dying from AIDS, or somebody just found out they had AIDS, or a baby is born with AIDS, you know what I mean? Or somebody's having to go and tell someone in their life that, I have it, you need to go get tested too. How fearful can that be? So we don't want to just wait once a year to acknowledge, what the enemy is doing on a daily basis.
Because he's working it.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. He's working it. And there's no, it's nothing about age. It's nothing about color. He's getting it from infants, to the older people that is not really discussed. Even in statistics, it's showing that people over 50 are not even really put in the scheme of the statistics. That was scary when I read that. So what we want to do, as always, is we want to define what it is that we're talking about. And so, Bella, if you will.
Okay. AIDS stands for Acquired Immune Deficiency Syndrome. AIDS is caused by a virus known as the Human Immunodeficiency Virus, or HIV. HIV attacks the body's immune system, our defense against infection and disease, and it weakens over time. A person who has HIV gradually loses the protection of his or her immune system and begins to experience health problems. These may be fairly small problems at first, like skin problems or yeast infections, but over time, the illness becomes more serious. The amount of time that it takes HIV to begin to affect a person's health varies widely from one individual to another. When a person is diagnosed with one of the serious illnesses or cancers which are AIDS defining, the person is then said to have AIDS. HIV attacks the immune system mainly by damaging the CD4, which is also known as the T4 or T helper cells, which helps the body fight off diseases. HIV can also have direct effects upon the body. For example, the virus can attack cells in the brain and impair the brain's function.
So we hope that that definition is definitely a help for you. Angie, can you please read Leviticus 17 and 14 for our listeners?
I sure can. Again, this is Leviticus chapter 17, verse 14. It says, "For as the life of the flesh, of all flesh actually, is in its blood, it's identified with its life. Therefore I said to the sons of Israel, you are not to eat the blood of any flesh, for the life of the flesh is in its blood. Whoever eats it shall be cut off."
Amen. So did you want to expound on that? Because I like when you sent that,
Well, basically, it basically, like the first portion of it is what stood out to me. Like the life of the body. In everything that we do, our source comes from our blood.
Right.
There's not one part of your body that don't have blood in it.
Right.
It travels. Our veins allows blood to travel through to every cell, to every organ, to every tissue in our body. So all of it needs it to live. And what comes to me, when circulation gets cut off, you don't get no blood to your legs. Your legs get chopped off.
Right.
So the life of the flesh is in the blood, but with just the definition of with us talking about AIDS, if the blood is sick, if there's a contaminant in the blood, that's traveling to every organ, to every cell, to every part of your body, and eventually death occurs because of that. So,
amen. All right. Well, we want to talk about how does the infection occur. Again, HIV is a fragile virus that cannot survive outside of the body. And this is really, we love to have fun and a great time, and, we sing and praise and worship and all that. But this is really a day of education. And just to let you know, as far as HIV is a fragile virus that cannot survive outside of the body. That is why you cannot be infected with HIV from toilet seats or from sharing dishes or utensils. So those of you that have these phobias and think that if you touch somebody or touch a dish or, that you can't catch it like that. HIV does not get passed through the air as a cold or flu does. That's also very important because some people don't even want to be in the same space. If they know someone has HIV or AIDS. HIV-infected body fluids must reach the HIV-susceptible cells in the blood, usually through a break in the skin, absorption through mucosal membranes, mucosa, or through some distribution to the mucosa. Mucosa are the moist surfaces of the body which line most of the body cavities and hollow internal organs, such as your vagina, for you ladies, rectum, mouth, and urethra. And some people didn't know what urethra was. You know, when you have to use a bathroom, urinate, you know, for male and females, you know, what that comes from, lack of better words, pee. You know, what that comes out of is your urethra, your nose, and your eyelids. And it's amazing because when you think of contracting HIV through your nose, but anywhere where it's sensitive and those membranes are there, and your eyelids as well, HIV does not get passed from one person to another through deep kissing. You know, a lot of people think, you know, that would happen as well. You cannot get HIV from body fluids such as saliva or spit, sweat, or urine. Again, pee.
You'd have to drink buckets of it.
Right. So if you could, Angie, give me the, well, I don't know if you want to touch on that. You want me to do it? There are 5 body fluids which have enough HIV in them to infect someone. And again, this is for education, so we let you know what it is, the 5 body fluids that have enough HIV that it could affect your body, infect you.
Okay, the first is blood, of course, which we've already established. Also semen, or vaginal fluids, including menstrual fluids, rectal fluids, and breast milk. So all of those are able to actually transmit the disease.
Okay. And then go on to the different ways. That's important too. People need to know the different ways that they can contract the HIV virus.
Of course, you know, the vast majority of the people that do have it or have been infected with it came by way of sex. So most likely, the most likely way to get HIV is to get it through sex, into the bloodstream, through the interior skin or linings, the mucous membranes or the vagina, the cervix, the rectum, or the urethra. Again, we just talked about that. Is the tube inside the man's penis or the woman's vagina where urine comes out. HIV can be transmitted through sex without a condom, or if you share paraphernalia that have not been cleaned each time someone uses it. Not using a condom between partners are very, very risky activities. HIV can get into the bloodstream through the mouth and throat. This is rare. Some people have contracted HIV through oral sex. When a person, and that sticks out to me because a lot of people think, if I ain't having sex, I'm good. And that's a lot of things, like with younger girls and when people that are trying to stand for God, and they think, well, I'm not having sex if I'm just doing oral. No, it's sex too. You're still in danger.
That's right. That's right.
It's the same thing.
Amen.
So again, some people have contracted it through oral sex. When a person has a sexually transmitted infection, like syphilis, gonorrhea, warts, herpes, his or her risk for getting HIV increase a lot higher. Regular checkups are important and is one way of preventing HIV transmission. Most people get infected with HIV when they have anal or vaginal sex without a condom, or when they share needles, syringes, or drug utensils. And that's it.
Okay. Well, let's talk about the needles also, because again, that is the paraphernalia that they're using for those drug users.
Okay.
They're not the ones contracting it through sex, but they're contracting it through the dirty needles.
Still at risk, very high. Again, needles is another common way that HIV is transmitted, through a puncture from a needle that has already been used by someone else and has not been cleaned. When people who are injecting drugs share their works or needles, it is easy to get HIV. It is also easy to get other infections such as hepatitis C from sharing these needles as well.
Right, because a lot of times, when they're going through these people that have become drug addicts, the money's funny.
Yeah.
When you're spending every dime you have and selling everything you have to get the drug, you don't necessarily have the money to go and buy fresh needles every day.
Right.
So, and then again, when you're high, your judgment is clouded.
Yeah.
So you're going to recycle. And then you may recycle not just what you're doing to yourself, but you may, hey, can I borrow yours? You know what I'm saying?
And not even thinking.
And not
just
even
trying to get
realize it. Right. Because again, like I was just saying on Gospel Jam Show, he's coming to steal and kill and destroy you.
Anything he can.
Right. Because when you're not in your right mind, you don't think. So, and another big way that I think a lot of people are neglecting, because again, so many people focus on sex as being the way, but let's talk about pregnancy.
Okay, pregnancy, it says HIV can be transmitted from mother to child during pregnancy, labor, or delivery. So even if they make it out of the womb, they've gone through the process, they're fully developed, just as simple as coming through the canal, they can get it.
Amen.
Now that's strong.
It is strong.
Without anti-HIV drug treatment, there is about a 25% chance the child will be infected. With treatment, the rate drops to about 3%, and that is huge.
Yes, when I read those statistics, that really blew my mind. But see, the problem is that a lot of young girls, especially, and there are some older women, but when they're young, and especially when they feel like my mom's going to kill me or my dad is going to kill me, or even the person I got pregnant by is going to hurt me if they find out I'm pregnant, sometimes they will go full term.
Right.
Especially if they're small, you can't really, they can hide it.
Right.
So the whole time they are not getting any type of care
treatment
whatsoever. So not only are they neglecting their own bodies, but they're neglecting the child as well. So your opportunity to treat that child in the womb to get from 25% to 3%, has now been diminished.
Right.
Gosh. So it's so I'm just one of the, and this is just for you young ladies, because I did ask for anybody who's listening, any young woman that you know, or male, anybody, have them to tune in, because you young men need to know. If you find out if she is keeping the baby, you're in high school, please ask her to go and get tested. And I don't care what somebody tells you about how many partners they've had, and I'm going to say this the nicest way I can. 9 times out of 10, they lying.
Right.
That's the best way I can say it. So you need to get tested. She needs to get tested and make sure that she's, attending her visits regularly. And also, you young women, you cannot afford. I mean, even if you're afraid to tell your parents, you're afraid to tell somebody, you need to find a clinic or somewhere, because you're preserving yourself and also that baby.
Yes. So again, when you actually get the treatment that's needed when you're pregnant and you're HIV positive, when you are having that treatment in place, the statistics are in your favor. Again, without it, 25% chance the baby will be infected. With treatment, only 3% chance. However, the long-term effects of drugs on the child are not yet known. HIV can also be passed to a child through breastfeeding if the mother has HIV.
Oh, wow. And I just want to share really quick. There was my first introduction of that HIV is when I met a young lady. I first moved to Florida in Fort Lauderdale, and she was always nicely dressed, had been to college, had 2 degrees. I mean, always on point. Hair always done, nails done. She was on point always. And I remember her one day crying and crying and crying. I came out to the foyer where we used to go and just sit out. It was a really nice building, and the foyer was inside the building, so you can stand up and look down and see nice little waterfalls. And I went down to check on her to find out what was going on, and she was telling me that she was crying because her boyfriend, she found out she had AIDS, through when she gave birth to her baby. She went to the doctor regularly. She did everything, the right way. Did not know she had it when her baby was born. The baby was very sickly, so they ran all types of tests on the baby and found out the baby had AIDS. So she found out after the fact. Now, mind you, this is not the father of the child, because when he found out, he immediately, got rid of her. He didn't want to have anything to do with her or the baby. Wow. But from my understanding, he was tested and came out negative. Okay, so she now takes on a boyfriend, and there's some dental offices in Fort Lauderdale that treat people with AIDS. She was going to the dentist, but because he knew the area, knew everything, he wanted to take her. She didn't want him to take her, because she knew that if he took her to this specific building, wait a minute, baby, sick people go here. This can't be the right dentist. So he was adamant about taking her, and she was like, well, no. So she's crying, because she's like, what do I do? And I'm just standing there, the first time I was ever faced with it, because in my mind, my mindset was, if this person has AIDS, they're skinny, their hair falling out, they look terrible. And I just kept looking at her, and then she was standing there looking at me with tears in her eyes, and my first thought was to embrace her.
Not the case always.
My first thought was to embrace her. So again, you young men and young women, even if they're looking apart, because I'm a woman, and she was put together. And if she looked fine to me, you know what I mean? I mean, nice shape, the whole 9 yards. To any man, just to think of what you may be getting into just from looking at the surface, you have no idea.
That's right.
You better get tested before you start messing with people.